Hey, you're probably here because you got a rusty coolant pipe on your Honda CRV, Honda Element, Accord. I'm not sure, but this is an issue at least with these 2.4 liters, where they decided to spec a steel pipe. Great job, Honda. So, one of the issues I've seen, there's a couple other great videos on it, better than mine. I'm just giving you the pointers. This part of the pipe breaks off in the thermostat housing. By the way, all this yellow stuff is fluid film, so sorry, you're not going to get a great view. But this kind of gets hung up in there. I don't know if it's from rust or from that gasket swelling, the O-ring gasket. Probably want to buy a new O-ring gasket for your pipe from Honda. Pipe's only like $60, by the way. It's everything else that adds up. That thermostat housing, very expensive. I'm just not going to get into replacing that right now, but I'll probably come back and do it. Thermostat housing, thermostat, I think, well over $200, maybe even closer to $300. But a lot of these little hose clamps and stuff need to be replaced. They're pretty shot. So what I did is I came in here with a Sawzall, cut the pipe right above the starter, so be real careful. And then I kind of just gently wiggled it. I didn't want this to break off in the thermostat housing. I also didn't want to crack the plastic of the thermostat housing. So that came off really as good as it came off in one piece, which is exactly what I wanted. I might be giving my method too much credit, and just been lucky. There wasn't too much rust here, but yeah, there's a little pinhole there. Man, this thing was rusted. I think the spots I could barely see when I was pressure testing with the intake on were here and up here. But yeah, I'm sure it was leaking all over the place for a long time. So anyway, I cut it here. I was able to barely wiggle it out real gently, kind of using the leverage of this section to wiggle back and forth just a little. Didn't want to break it off. Popped it out of there, and that was a big sigh of relief. There's this bracket that it's kind of no big deal. The bolt head was pretty rounded, so I replaced it. By the way, get one of these cheap hardware kits if you're working on an old rusty car. This is like $20. Total lifesaver to have these extra bolts. Anyway, so here's we're coming here. The thing I had one of the hardest time I had with this job was finding where the second bracket was on this coolant pipe. It's kind of buried in here. I ended up taking the air cleaner off. You probably don't have to do that, but then again, if you do, it gives you a lot better access to this hose connection. So where that is, that bolt head's right there, and it's between this canister, it's between this electrical this kind of box that houses a bunch of electrical connections. You pry this electrical connector off this bracket, pop it off with a big pry bar, pop it off that way, give yourself some space. You can come in here with an extension, and this is kind of leaned back. That's dramatic, but it's leaned back at an angle. You can get on that bolt head. This bracket for the electrical connector will stack on top of the bracket here, and this bolt, which I replaced because the head was rounded, went through both. That's like an M6, maybe a little longer than 12 millimeters, but that bolt goes through there. That's where I had the hardest time. I just couldn't find it. There's a lot of crap in the way. Until I took this air cleaner box off, I really didn't have a chance at finding it. But good news is I was able to find that, and get to it. So other thing, this was a pain so not a bad idea to have some hose clamps in an emergency, like in your emergency kit. But in this case, maybe you don't have the constant pressure clamps and you want to get by with these. You got to be careful with these gear clamps because you can break plastic parts. In this case, I got rubber on top of the steel. I think it's going to be fine. I'll probably just leave it that way. Okay, as for taking the intake out, the biggest problem I had was getting this bracket off the bottom. You will attack this from the bottom of the car, I couldn't get that bolt out. It rounded. I was able to, once I had this all out, basically I was able to get some pliers on it and twist this, which got the bolt. It's actually a stud and not moving. This is my thing for the hood prop. I bent that up with a pair of pliers. I moved a bunch of stuff. It was super tight. Pulled this dipstick out. It was really tight to get this intake out with the bracket attached. Without the bracket attached, so try to get this bracket off best you can. I think you can do it from the bottom. Just be careful. And don't round that bolt head totally, and you'll be okay. But once you get that off, I think you can take this intake right out with the throttle body, and you're good to go. Just get this freaking bracket off. All right, 2 studs. This is an 09. This metal intake manifold. 2 studs. 1, 2, 3 bolts. All very easy to get to. Yeah, like I said, try to take it out with the throttle body, my opinion, so you don't have to deal with this gasket. Look what I did. Somehow that got torn. So yeah, I think you can take this whole intake out with the throttle body attached. That will save you a lot of hassle. And just, when you're ordering the parts, maybe order them online, or it might be cheaper than your dealer. Order hoses. Order, especially the big hoses, but order the little clamps and all that stuff. It's all going to be good to replace if you are in the Rust Belt. Good luck.